Welcome to All For You Stories, where we want you to think different so you act different. Let's go. Bo and Grace. Everyone in the neighborhood feared Daniel so much that few knew his real name and instead called him Bo, short for Deebo. He didn't look like the character from the movie Friday, but the fear he struck in the hood mimicked him perfectly. The beatdowns Bo handed out were urban legend, except for there were swollen eyes, missing teeth, and shamed egos to document the stories. He also had a stab wound on his left shoulder and one on the right side of his torso from fights he still won. Whether witnessed or not, everyone knew the bottom line. Bo was not one to be messed with, period. Going to jail didn't worry Bo. He had been there and done that. It was part of his legacy. Whether in or out, everyone feared Bo. Almost everyone. The only person not worried about Bo or his reputation was a 5'4", plump, dark-skinned woman he called G-Ma. She raised him since he turned 3 and had instilled enough fear in him to last a lifetime. She is the only person to make him feel loved and valued. She meant everything to him and is the only person in the world who mattered. Her age and arthritis limited how much she could monitor him, so she never knew what the rest of the neighborhood really thought of him. To her, he was Daniel, a sweet boy who made his bed every morning, kept the house clean, and watched shows like The Golden Girls just because it made her happy. The rest of the world knew him as Bo, the boy who terrorized the neighborhood, doing what he wanted, taking what he wanted, and breaking anyone off who got in the way. The only time the outside world did not have to worry about Bo was when he took his G-Ma to church on Sunday afternoons. Typically, he took her to the front pew and then waited for her in the car. But this Sunday was different. He guided G-Ma to her seat, kissed her on her cheek, and started to walk off, but to his surprise, she stopped him. She held onto his wrist and asked the lady next to her, "Can you make room for my grandson, please?" Daniel looked at her strangely and asked, "You want me to sit up here, G-Ma?" "Yeah, baby, stay with me today." He wanted to say no, but he couldn't refuse his G-Ma. Bo once heard a saying about feeling as comfortable as a hooker in church, which is the perfect way to describe how he felt sitting in the house of God. G-Ma may have been ignorant of Bo's reputation, but everyone else knew the deal. Seeing him sitting in the front pew looked as out of place as a fire in the snow. God had no place in his world, and everything about him being there felt wrong. The only time Bo did not feel out of place was during the sermon, even though a few statements seemed targeted directly at him. The bishop talked about grace, which Daniel did not comprehend before then. He heard it in prayers and some songs, but he didn't understand its meaning. But listening to the bishop, it made sense. Simply put, grace is getting something you don't deserve. You don't have to work for it, you don't have to earn it, but you get it anyway. As Bo listened, he did not think it could apply to him. He had done too much dirt for anyone, especially God, to give him a pass. But the idea of it felt good. Good enough to briefly stop him from feeling like a hooker in church. After service, Daniel took G-Ma to get her favorite meal, oxtails drenched in gravy over a bed of rice, and then took her home. They sat down to watch an episode of The Cosby Show, and midway through, she drifted off to sleep. He covered her with a black quilt and left. Bo hit the streets, and he became himself again. He met up with some of his boys, Drac and Boot. They checked on their corners and then went to their headquarters in the jungle. Several people came by to pick up drugs or drop off money. Bo and Boot sat on the couch smoking while Drac called them in one by one. Everything went along smoothly until 2 young runners came in. They both looked scared, especially the one in the back, who wouldn't look up. The tall kid in the front handed the backpack to Drac. Drac counted the money, then stopped and examined the bag. He looked inside, turned it upside down, and shook it. He looked at the 2 boys and said, "Y'all short, homie." The tall kid told some story about having the money, dropping it, and the wind blowing it in different directions. He seemed too scared to be lying, but that didn't make a difference. Coming up short was a no-no. They would have to be dealt with. Boots stretched his hands and cracked his knuckles. He sat up in the couch and zeroed in on the tall boy who did the talking. Bo set his sights on the boy in the back, who still had his head down. He finally looked up, and Bo saw his watery, light brown eyes. Bo put up a hand to stop Boot from going any further. Bo walked towards the two of them. The boys instinctively took a step back, and although the tall boy tried to look brave, his chest rose and you could hear him breathing. Bo ignored him and stepped to the one with the light eyes. "Blood, you about this life?" He didn't answer. Bo repeated himself. "You about this life, little homie?" Bo looked around the room. Drac and Boot smiled as the tall boy trembled. Bo thought for a moment, looked at Drac and Boot, and then addressed the little boy with the light eyes. "Look here, we can all see this ain't for you. You can fake it if you want, but you ain't built for this. We gonna give you a chance to get out of here with no consequences, but you gotta bounce right now." The tall boy looked at the boy with the light eyes. The boy with the light eyes took 2 deep breaths, whispered something, and walked out the door. Soon, the tall one followed. When they left, Drac and Boot turned to Bo. "Blood, why you let them little niggas go? They punks now, but we could have built them up. I'm just feeling giving today. I'm giving out grace." Drac took a sip from his drink and looked at Boot. "Don't let him smoke nothing else. This dude here losing his mind." "What you mean, grace?" Bo considered explaining, but stopped himself. It made sense a few moments ago, but now, not so much. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, check us out on TikTok, Instagram, and do what you gotta do. Peace.